Namaste, I'm Ayushi Dolakia, your host for this afternoon, and we are here at the Mumbai International Film Festival for a panel discussion that will delve into the tactics and challenges associated with the disseminating of short films to audiences worldwide. We extend our gratitude to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the National Film Development Corporation, and the Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, Kolkata. Short films have become a vital medium for filmmakers to express their vision and engage with audiences. Today's session will investigate strategies to enhance the transmission, reach, and exposure of short films across various platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our distinguished panel with a big round of applause. Let's start with Mr. Mody, sir, CEO of Pocket Films. Ms. Chopra, ma'am, an actor, author, and producer. Ms. Henckel Donnersmarck, ma'am, head of Berlinale Sports. Ms. Vikinaya Zhao, ma'am, a renowned short film and documentary filmmaker. And Mr. Soni, sir, CEO of Media, Entertainment and Skill Council. And moderating today's discussion, we have Mr. Pankaj Saxena, sir, Artistic Director, Mumbai International Film Festival. Please may I have a huge round of applause from our audience. May I now also request Mr. Prithul Kumar sir, Joint Secretary Broadcasting, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and Managing Director, NFDC, to felicitate our guests. Having a studded panel like this surely calls for a bigger round of applause, audience. Also, with regard to the question and answers, we will take your questions following the discussion, so please hold on to your queries till then. And may I now please request Mr. Pankaj Saxena, sir, to commence today's insightful panel discussion on enhancing the reach and impact of short films. Over to you, sir.
Thanks very much. An excellent introduction has been made digitally or electronically already, so you know who's who. That saves me the trouble and the time to introduce them once again. This is a very interesting topic that we are discussing today, so thank you very much for making time to be here at the Mumbai International Film Festival. Nice rainy day. And I want to thank the festival and Gauri particularly for picking this topic of short films, because this is one thing that sort of gets left out. When we talk of short films, and I see some short filmmakers here and some cinema students here, also some cinema practitioners here and some faculty So it's a very, very interesting and varied set of cinema-loving people. Um, Short film, as many of us already know, is one of the earliest forms of fiction that started in cinema. And I think the earliest film that one might remember is a film called Great Train Robbery in 1902. And then, very quickly, very many filmmakers, but particularly David Waugh Griffith, in 13 years' time made a 3-hour plus film called Birth of a Nation. And from that point of time, this long form somehow overtook the short form. So short form started early, but then ceded ground to long form. And then for a period of time, the long form, which is often called the feature film, is sort of ruling the rules. People got used to seeing this 2 hours of fiction. And one of the issues with short films, of course, has been that there is really no standard format. So anything that is not a feature length in film festival parlance, less than 70 minutes is so there isn't really any standardization. But we also notice that it's a breaking ground for many aspiring filmmakers. In fact, a few days back, I came across a film made by Yasuhiro Ozu, a short film. Many people wouldn't know this because it's not a very famous film, and it is not like an Ozu film at all. It's a short film, and it's a very American kind of a film. As a kid, he was obviously very looking up to Hollywood, etc. There's no tatami shot there. There's none of that. But starting from there, he has grown into something. And we know that Ray, for example. So some people start with Christopher Nolan. Has any of you seen his very short? Yeah, you've seen that. So it just made a film while he was studying English, a 2-minute film in black and white. But you can see that this is the beginning of a great filmmaker, because it's not an ordinary film at all. It's a film that is dealing with the three aspects of any human being's personality. So he's not a straightforward storyteller from the time he was studying English in England. There are filmmakers then who have not lost the passion and desire to make short films. Ray, particularly, I'm mentioning, made a film called Two at the peak of his feature filmmaking career, because there is something that he must have felt can only be said through the short film. And then now, of course, all the celebration around Henry Sugar. Wes Anderson is very busy making feature films, but he's chosen to make a short film. There is a subject that he has which cannot be a feature film, and therefore. So there is a lot happening in the world of short films. In fact, I happened to see this Yorgos Lanthimos film, the latest film. It's a collection of 4 short films. And that also has been happening in the business. And when you don't know what to do with a short film, then you combine them into a feature film sort of, so that they get a release. So this is by way of perspective, and now we have this excellent panel that I'm very fortunate to be talking to here. I just want to understand and get a sense of what a short film is, starting with Anna. You deal with short films. What is a short film?
In the case of Berlinale, the short film is anything that's less than 30 minutes. And other than that, it's all open. And maybe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not very good at film history, but I think it was actually a woman who for the first time thought about adding several short film reels to make a feature film. Alice Guy Blanchet, if you ever heard about her, a French woman, very interesting. Because until then, 10 minutes was basically the roll, the amount of film that could be loaded into a camera. And she was the first one to say, why don't we just add a few of those rolls and then make a feature film? And almost all her work is lost. That's why we know so little about her. But I thought it was interesting to add to the history. So in case of Berlinale Shorts, we are open to any kind of form and genre. And for us, there's always 2 ways that I try to describe our profile or what we are interested in. If you look at European literature, I don't know what it's like for the literature here, but for many people, if you want to compare literature with film, with cinema, for many people the feature film is the novel and the short film is the short story. For us, the short film is the poem, which means it has different rules, it has different potentials, it can work in a different way than a short story or a novel. And we are interested in it. It has certain, short film also has certain liberties, maybe because there is not the pressure of the market so much. So we are interested in what do people do with these liberties, with this freedom? Where do they take cinema? How far do they go? And there are many films, as you just said, that wouldn't make sense in more than the minutes they use. There's no point in blowing them up. It's really this little crystal that makes them so beautiful. And with this poem, it's also, for many films that we show, because some of them I've seen 20 times or something like that, and I still enjoy it, or I enjoy it even more every time, because it's like a poem that they're so dense, so full of layers, that with each reading, you discover something you didn't see before. You see a new layer, you add something. So yeah, that's, I think, the beauty of short film.
Yeah, thank you. I think you've described it really well, and especially taking the example of Alice Guy Blaché. When we were studying cinema, there's some people from FTIS or FTI here. When we were studying cinema, we thought Lumiere was the only guy who was making, pioneering films. But Guy Blaché is actually within that period, exactly overlapping the same period, but nobody knew of her existence unless she chose to write something about herself. So she's a great discovery and a great name. Samir, you are, we had a great red carpet yesterday, and your filmmakers are all there, very happy, and you're the patron saint. I mean, I wish I was born today and then get my films exposed through Pocket Film. So would you, what is
Never
your...
too late.
Okay, thank you. So I'll come to you. So how do you see short films? I'm saying not as somebody who's distributing or promoting them, but as a form of entertainment or art or communication. How do you see this beast?
Basically, the way and what excites me about short films is, at the end of the day, and I'm looking at it from a very regular Indian consumer point of view, is that we're looking at entertainment. And when a short film in a short duration of time can give me that same entertainment, information, engagement, I think that is what kind of makes, and the best part, of course, is in shorter duration of time. So the gratification that one would get on watching a feature film, which consumes 90 minutes of your life, you're almost getting that same kind of gratification in, say, 15 minutes. And that allows you to watch maybe 5 other films, but the most important point being, getting that same sense of whatever that you want to look at in a content. Either it is entertainment, or either it is information, or just a thrill. The ability for a short film to give you that in a shorter period of time, I think that is what really excites us, and me in particular, as a viewer of short films.
That is very true, and I think all this data that we keep getting and hearing about is about shortening of attention span. It may be, I mean, if it is going the cricket way, then it is, the future of short film may be better, like the present of T20 is. And of course now a lot of people are talking of T10 also, so it's getting there slowly. Chutney, how many have seen Chutney? Okay, so quite a lot of people have seen Chutney. So from that perspective, from that experience, Tiska, how is a short film, especially compared to a longer film or a feature film?
So for me, a short film, for me it came about as a necessity. I wasn't necessarily looking to do a short or a long or anything, but I just had the budget to make a short film, and I had a story which lent itself very naturally to a short form format. Essentially, I think it's in miniature. And because it's in miniature, you have to be able to nuance it and layer it that much more. Because the experience has to be full and complete within that limited period of time. It's a small vignette, a small window. And in that window, as you're passing through, you should be able to tell the whole story. And that is the challenge of writing it, and the format of also making it, that you have no time for exposition whatsoever. So every scene, every moment has to be extremely hardworking, because it has to do so much more than what a feature length, you have time to explore. Here, the exploration, everything, while you're providing details of the story, details of the character, the plot is also moving, and everything is happening simultaneously. So that, I think, is for me the heart of a short film. And a lot of people look at it as a stepping stone to a larger format, which it may well be, but I think by itself it is a wonderful way to work, because you get in, you do your storytelling, and not every story lends itself to, as Anna mentioned, doesn't lend itself to a long format. And I think it must be appreciated for its own self, because it's like a little gem by itself. And as attention spans are getting shorter, people would like to have that kind of investment where they get in for 15 or 20 or 25 minutes and get that same experience and move on to the next story.
Yeah, I think that's very well put, and this articulation of short films as being appropriate to today's lifestyle sort of paints a happier picture of the future of short films. So thank you for saying that. Vikiano, what is your take on short films? Though you are mostly making documentaries, I think, I don't know.
So when we approach so many channels, nobody would like to telecast it because it's too short and it doesn't make any sense for them, and they won't be making any money out of it. So like that, for 6 months, 1 year, we just tried and tried. And in the end, I thought, yeah, why don't we just take the flames to the different schools and educational institutes? And that's what we did to promote the film. As the film is also about the headhunters, which they were, the original tattooed hunters who were dying. And the present generations, they don't do tattooing anymore on the faces or the body. Yeah. So I wanted that to live on. And so today, so we couldn't do any marketing as such, but going to the educational institution and all, they have all kept it in the library so that the future generations can see it. And in the famous Hornbill festivals in Nagaland, we tried to sell some. We could sell some, and I think till today also the short films, it is very difficult to market.
Yes.
Yes, even though we have YouTube and Facebook and all, unless the subject is very interesting and about 10 or 20 million videos uploading every day. So I don't know, I think we really need to have a platform where we can do regular screenings into libraries, auditoriums, or places like this, where we can publicize and expose and make the subject interesting so that more people to view it and understand what short films are there about.
Yeah, so I think now you're hitting the nail on the head in the sense that a lot of people make short films and they're very happy and they're very proud of making short films. But I have heard a term called digital trash. So, anybody is making anything and just putting it up there. So the point is, even if you made a good film or a better film, etc., I think this is what Vikiana is saying, it may just get lost there. So how do you navigate that jungle of digital trash? Media Entertainment Skill Council, what is your take on this?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me here, sir. And to me, short films is something which is a part of my life while traveling from home to office. So I don't have to keep myself occupied thinking what happened in the last 10 minutes of the movie which I missed. So I think that's one good part. But from the skilling perspective, when I look at it, it's the best format of somebody to present their portfolio. And it opens a big pathway for them to see what opportunities they could extract. The simplest form, but the most complex form of storytelling and showcasing your creative powers. But today, if you see, like you rightly mentioned, T20 is the talk of the town, and I see that short films is making a big stream now in every segment of the life history which we talk about. So I think that's the way we look at it, and there's a lot on the ground which we are doing to see that we can enable short-time filmmakers and give them some reasonable opportunity. Maybe over the period of time while we continue the discussion, I can highlight some of those areas which we have been working upon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that will be very important. I think for many people here, it will be very important to know of how to make a short film, make a skillfully good short film, and then to have it seen by the people. Because I think the joy is in getting the people to see the film. I mean, half the joy is in making the film, certainly, but then people must get to see it. So in terms of Balnale shorts at the festival, I think you are doing very well, because the houses are full when your shorts run. And they are invariably running in competition to feature films. So many people are actually not going for the feature films and coming into your auditoriums. So how do you sort of navigate that or manage that or program that so that it stands on its own feet, the shorts program?
I mean, Berlinale is very generous with the shorts because we get the big cinemas. We have 2 screenings with 700 people in the auditorium, and then we have 3 more repetitions. So the audience really has a chance to get a ticket. Maybe it's important for you to know Berlinale is, I don't know if it's the biggest or the second biggest audience festival, which means I think 500,000 people go to see a movie at Berlinale within those 10 days. Maybe it's 300,000. Anyway, it's a lot. You can check on our webpage. It's a lot. And this audience is wonderful. They're very open-minded. They're very curious. They want to engage with the filmmakers. They want to have conversations after the films. So it's very beautiful to curate for them, because when I'm curating, I can forget them, because I know they will be generous with the selection and they will be open-minded and curious. And so I can't really complain because it's always full. What I noticed is that we have people who really come to every single screening. They want to see all the 5 programs. And some of these people are people not from the film industry. There is an old couple that comes every year. They take their holiday. They come from the south of Germany. They take their holiday to come to Berlinale, and then they make sure they come and also see the shorts. So I think there is a huge audience for short film, but that audience doesn't know that short film exists. Like the ones who come to Berlinale, they know. But very often, when I bring somebody along who has never seen a short film program, they say, oh my God, I didn't know, I'm going to come back, and then they're hooked. And I think there's a lot of these people out there who just don't know that there is independently artistic, beautiful short films to discover.
Yeah, and I just very quickly want to sort of ask you, your program is a very international program, so you're getting films from all over the place, and then your audience is also very international. So in that sense, there's a lot of cross-pollination happening within the ambit of Berlinale shorts. So how consciously do you do this, or how do you actually get to get that kind of variety of films that you do?
So we get submissions from all over the world. We had this year 4,600 submissions, and we showed 20 films in the end. We don't go by country or region. We really look at each film individually and then decide whether to invite it or not. And then we hope it really represents as much of the globe as possible. But it's not our first criteria. And also, maybe just a little footnote. I think 2 years ago, I was a little bit frustrated because I thought, like, oh my God, we have 4 films from France. It's a bit too much out of 20, you know, and it's a bit too Eurocentric, and then we have 2 from Belgium. And then I looked at the nationality of the directors, and it turned out they actually came from all over the world. Then I looked at the topics, and I realized one was shot in South America, one was shot in France, the other one was shot in Asia. So this nationality reflects rather where is money to make short film. Because in the case of Berlinale, the nationality of a film is defined by where did the money come from, who produced it. And so very often these country ratios don't really reflect whatever. Yeah, exactly, or the topics. They reflect more where could those filmmakers produce those films. So we had, for example, quite a few Iranian filmmakers working as a Dutch film, as a French film, with topics that dealt with Iran. But if you look through the catalog and you look for Iran, you wouldn't find those films because they are produced in a different country.
Yeah, so there was a time, and I think that time hasn't really gone away, when the producers or the directors' big joy is to have a film release in a cinema hall like Maratha Mandir, and then, you know, have huge queues outside the theater. Sometimes lathi charge, you know, there's great physicality to that whole whole process of screening and people coming around. With the short filmmakers, this has never happened, and very likely this will never happen. But the short films have gone onto the bandwagon of digital dissemination. And thanks to the technology, the emergence of technology, and thanks to people like you, Samir, that you are now enabling filmmakers not only to be seen by people within their country, but all across. So what is the journey of pocket films, I want to know, because I'm coming from an era when there was no distribution for short films. I mean, I made a short film, Dheeraj was sitting there, Dheeraj made short films. Our films were just seen in film institutes and film festivals. That's where the whole story ended.
So, just to give you a brief introduction into why we got into distributing short films was that in my earlier and I'm talking about 2008, 6, 7, 8, where we were placing people in the media and film industry, and that was our core business. And every single person who I would interview for a particular job in the media space would always in their resume have that I've edited a short film, I've directed a short film, I've done cinematography for a short film, and I was like, okay, what is this short film and what do you do with it? And they said nothing, we just make it to showcase our skill, but then it just lies. And that kind of gave us a thought that there is so much content being produced, which is not actually seeing the light of day. And that was a time when YouTube was kind of making its presence felt globally. And we partnered with YouTube in India. We were amongst the first few partners for YouTube in India. And we started putting up all these films online. So that was the core objective there at that point in time, when we realized that if there is so much talent which is putting in so much effort in creating something, the ultimate aim of any content which is created is to find an audience. And given the format and given all the other commercial and economical pressures, it is not able to find its audience. And that's when the whole digital movement was allowed us to actually at least first make it available. Once it became available, then it became our job to see how it is going to be discovered in that sea. So that's what my team primarily focuses on, is ensuring that, or not ensuring I would say, but putting our best foot forward in terms of getting the content discovered. And like you said, digital trash, I'm going to definitely borrow that word. Because honestly speaking, and many people don't like it, but the real truth is it's a 90-10 game, where 10% of the content is really interesting and amazing, and the remaining 90% there is just there to increase the volume. So our aim, but it is like, like a chalni, as we say, splitting the chaff from the rice, wheat. Is to take this forward, and that is how we try to put a focus on these short films and reaching to an audience. And another very important thing that we realized is that the content, good content, is engaging. The problem is frankly discovery of that content. How do we get the audiences to actually watch it? Because we know that if they start watching it, its content is strong enough to keep them hooked onto the whole thing. But the important piece is getting them there. So one of the core objectives that we try to do at Pocket Films is to reach where the audience is. So we're not focused on trying to say everybody come to Pocket Films to watch our content. We keep on trying to partner with platforms in every medium to see how we can take our short films elsewhere. So while we're known and our focus is digital, we're launching our OTT for short films, we're launching a fast channel for short films, but in the past we've experimented with all conventional mediums as well. So we've had a TV show showcasing 3 to 4 short films every week, run for 3 years on a national television channel. We've partnered with PVR and created anthologies of short films and released it across 6 cities within India. Unfortunately, COVID stopped that plan. We've curated programs for different festivals including the Indian Film Festival of Stuttgart and the Indo-German Film Week in Berlin. And when I attended both of those festivals with a compilation of our short films, and typically with Indian screenings, we have a sense that theek hai, kuch log aayenge, some people will come to see. And when we had gone for the screening over there, especially in Stuttgart, each ticket was for, I think, roughly €7, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, €7, the festival is going to charge. How many people will come and watch? Typically being a little bit suspect about it. It was full. There was no place to sit. I was also in the auditorium and I was actually standing so that somebody else could sit. And it was an amazing experience because that's when I saw that 90% of the audience were local Germans and not just Indians. So that there is a culture there of appreciating short films like she mentioned. And so we've had these successful screenings there as well. And the aim now is to see how we can get more and more spotlight to this format of content even in India. Because audiences are consuming it. It's just a matter of changing their habit and putting more of a spotlight, and that's where festivals like these are really helpful.
Yeah, that's really good to know. May the force be with you. And to discuss, so there is this digital space and there's this whole social media, all of that is one navigation to be done. But as an artist, as a writer, as a filmmaker, as an actor, there is this feature film monster on one side, and then there is this OTT possibility on the other side, and these one-off short stories are in the middle. So how do you stand up to these big businesses and big organizations which back short films and OTTs? Do short films have a future with OTT, I'm saying, in OTT platforms, or you have to plow your own field yourself?
I'll answer that question in two ways. One is that when there is a good story, truly a brilliant story, it will find its audience. It will be discovered. Of course, the makers will go out of their way to put it out there in whichever way that they best can. But to make sure that there is great writing, great cleverness in the writing, or in the discovery of a new world, because you don't have such commercial constraints as massive budgets putting a ball and chain on your subject. So therefore, for you as a short filmmaker, it's wonderful that you can be explorative. And I think the audience is so jaded, especially post-COVID, everyone's seen everything and there's just so much to see. But if you give them a new experience, and if you give them new and fresher stories, then they will be discovered. Whether it's YouTube, or you align with Pocket Aces, or you align with some of the other players that are in the market, like large short films, who helped produce 3 of my short films. So when you liaise with people who are in the ecosystem, there is, of course, they're going to be seen, and then the virality that one is hoping that it achieves comes only from someone else, from word of mouth. You can put in money, you can do your SEO, you can do whatever you want, but ultimately, the biggest draw is the film itself. And because you are hungry, you're exploring this medium, you're not making a project. You're not going the route of what a Hindi commercial mainstream film would go for, wherein they're like, making a tree and then hanging the fruit on it. You're kind of growing a new kind of plant, a new kind of idea. And I think it's a great place to explore new ideas. And once you have something which is new and exciting and fresh, it has its own energy. It sucks its own audience to it. And I think that you can do that because there isn't the commercial constraint.
Yeah, I think that is excellent, because then what you're suggesting is that you play to your strengths rather than get overawed by whatever is there in the market. So that's very hopeful. You took your film to Cannes in 2010, was it?
Yes.
2010.
Yeah.
So did things change after Cannes in terms of the opportunities and possibilities?
No. No. Because of course a lot of publicity is there, but nobody came out to buy the film, and there was no marketing done at all. I mean, we didn't do any one. So like I said, we did locally only, but I forgot to say the name of the film. You know, the film is called, it's called The Last of the Tattooed Headhunters. It's about the Queen tribe we're talking about, yeah. And what happened was that because the name was too attractive, you know, nowadays everybody uses the same name for everything. And I couldn't even find my film on the YouTube. The other day got it in taxi, but I couldn't find it. So still the marketing is really, really bad.
Okay, so I wish you better luck, definitely. I think Pocket Films is here and Bernal Shorts is here.
Yeah, next time it's
So, yeah. And Tista Chopra is here and Mohit Soni is here. So Mohit, tell us your story of how you were taking up if it is a challenge, how you were taking up.
So while we are an IT-dominated country, if you go back on the numbers, today we are the largest film makers in the world. We do around 1,800, 2,000 films in a year. And I think every time we were doing a film, the challenge was that there are no screens. And today we are sitting in a situation where a state like Punjab does 2,500 video albums in a year. And short films, the number is countless. The challenge is two-faced. One side is certainly what we have been talking about is marketing and distribution. But on the other side, if you look at it from a wider and a bigger perspective, institutions like FTI, SRFTI, Whistling Woods, you can count them on your fingertips. There are hardly any institutions which actually train the people on the right format of filmmaking, or for that matter, any other art of creativity. I think that's one big challenge which we have seen. We did an exercise under the Ministry of Skills called Recognition of Prior Learning. We went across to almost all the associations in the country and certified around 570,000 union members on different technical aspects, whether it was a cinematographer, whether it was a dancer, a musician, or a sound composer. We found most of them learned on the job. They had a zeal of being in this sector and they learned on the job. And I feel today that's the same thing. You go to any state of the country today and you will find everybody wanted to be a filmmaker or a dancer or a singer or a musician, and they believed they could do it. So I think one side was certainly the challenge to crack how we could establish more institutions. Second side was to see how the content which is generated in these institutions by those candidates be not just, I would say, refined, but also improvised based on the customer behavior and the customer taste. Because in India, like season, customer behavior changes very quick, so you have to be on the trend. So one is the establishment of centers of excellence which we are doing across the country. So there are around 10 centers of excellence which we have at this point of time, and we are bringing another 20. So we would very soon see a big foray of new age entrepreneurs and creative talent to be coming out from here. That's one side. The second side is, which we have been also talking about today, is whether there should be an OTT platform for short films or not. So Munjal sir is on our governing board and one of the founders of the council. On 20th of June, certainly I will be asking a proposal to my board to see if we could actually take up an OTT. We have been in discussion for it for almost 1.5 to 2 years. This can give a platform for people to come in and showcase their short films on the OTT, and this will be completely for those aspirants who are tending to be getting into the professional side of it, but will also open pathways for professional filmmakers. So I think these are few of the areas which we are trying to venture in and see that we could diversify from what we have been seeing so far in the skilling ecosystem and see it with a new lens. But trust me, people from the industry have to come out. They have to be trainers. Without trainers, whatever the machinery we create on the ground is not going to be successful. So our request, every forum we have been representing in the skilling space, is that people who are already there as veterans to come forward now. See, the council earlier was chaired by Kamal Hassanji, then Subhash Ghai, now Ramesh Tripiji is the chairman, and most of these veterans have spent a lot of time in grooming up the entire ecosystem for us. So I feel this is high time that the industry has to come forward and train these creative professionals. Then you will see some real good content. I'm not saying the content is bad right now. I'm saying you will see some real good content matching on to what the taste of the customer is, not nationally but internationally. And I think most of the states have started having their film festivals now. This gives a lot of opportunity for new filmmakers to present their films across those film festivals. Most of my training universities, the training partners which are there, have started short filmmaking competitions. I think this will give a lot of platforms. So this is a constant journey which we will embark on, and with the technical advancements we see in our sector, I am sure that we will see lot more developments to come in over the period of time. You know, virtual production is right now out. So you don't know, you may have spent 10 hours in editing a film while you do it on a virtual production background and you do it in 10 minutes. So I think most of our new generation is certainly going to be learned on those technical advancements, but the ones who have been there may need to be further upskilled. So I think then you will see a big chain of next short films or maybe creative films which you can call so. And these platforms will certainly take it to the next level. And as ma'am said, you know, if your film, if your product is good, consumers are going to consume it. So there's no reason why they would not take it. Only thing is that you have to reach them, and you have to reach them with the right platform. The categorization of these films has to be very perfect, and it has to be very well specified, you know, maybe if not authorized, that yes, these films have been somewhere out in the cloud and have been watched, or maybe some critics have gone around it. I think this will give much more choice to the consumer to consume the right content. Yeah. So I think that's what we look at it, but ideally, yeah, it's a journey. So, you know, it may take a little more time for us to get there.
Yeah. But you've traced that path, I think, very, very well for all of us. And the future looks much better than it looked to me 1 hour before we started this session. I have a few other questions, especially on monetization, things like that. But I think the audience may have some questions also. So I think we are almost running out of time. But if anybody has any question, you may just raise your hand. And do we have a mic that will roll? If you don't, then you can take this one that I have. Yeah. Yeah, we can share the mics here and you can take from us. Yeah, sorry, if you can just stand up so that they can see you, and if they understand your question, then they will understand the answer. Introduce yourself also, please. Keep the question short. Thank you, so sorry. No, I'm saying introduce yourself, keep your question short.
Thank you. I'll try to. Thank you. This is Mukesh Chandra here. My film was released here in 2022. It's called Moon on the Man. And yet my director, I mean, I find them very whimsical, not serious enough. They have lost hope of getting into Amazon OTT with lots of curbs and all that. Lots of some need some things, and some need, I mean, the new filmmakers also aghast. People are also thinking, I have been repeating this, that year after year we come here. I mean, as Sir said, that he's trying to open some new floodgates for people to, people are very amets. I keep on hearing people have lost their money. Even Sham Medical says that never put a money from, I mean, he's also taking it from markets, making other. So my question, it's not a question, but I feel that some new platform, some new way of thinking has to, I mean, as soon as you recognize a talent, there should be some way to nurture a person and make him into something which, if he doesn't have a career, so that his career.
Yeah, no, your point is very well taken. Do you want to respond? Any of you want to respond?
As soon as you got a good
observation.
Sir, and I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Just a thing.
Can I just move on because we have very little time now? Very quickly.
You got a talent, straight away pick him up. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar had, Gavaskar had Ravi Shastri at the age of 16 playing for India versus Pakistan, and you never know what Sachin Tendulkar is going to be. Or you put Ravi Shastri sitting in Mumbai and speaking as the best commentator in the world with Richie Benoit, Ian Chappell. So you never know. As soon as you got the talent, it should not be in the cans. It should not be in the cans.
That point is very well taken. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Who else wants? Is there any question? It's a money question that I wanted to ask. If anybody wants to ask that question, you ask it. Otherwise, I'll ask it. Any youngster from film school? So, yeah, a mic will reach you.
Hello, my name is Nikhil. I am from SRFTI. I'm a student there. So my question is, you've been talking about distribution and marketing of short films, but what about the funding of short films? There's like very few grants that fund short films for students who are like starting out, like people like me, and want to make films. There are like very less funding options for us. So what is there? Are we moving forward to something there?
Yeah, so you're asking me?
No, all of us. All of you.
Okay, whoever wants to answer that. Where is the funding?
I don't know.
So, I mean, I would like to answer it, and probably not the answer that you would like to hear. But see, unlike the West, especially Europe, where there is a lot of institutional support for the creative arts, I would say in India we have too many people for the government to be able to support creative arts that aggressively as they would like to support. But see, at the end of the day, also we Indians are born with a Jugaad DNA. So the best way forward is to actually find the way for yourself. I'm saying, if you keep on waiting for somebody to stand up and fund you and then you will make your first film, it is going to be a waiting game for you. I think it is important to figure out what is the story that you want to say and how can you say it within the means that you have. Get something out. That content will give you recognition. That recognition will probably open the doors for funding. So it's a cycle. Don't wait, to borrow from Nike, just do it. And I just feel, a lot of our creators at many times get stuck in the process and they say, you know what, I need this, then I will do this. I get this, then I can do this. That's basically playing the waiting game and trying to find somebody else to fund your dream. Very rarely does that happen. It may happen, but I'm saying very rarely does that happen. So yes, I think a lot of people will be exploring that option. We ourselves fund the creation of short films to a certain extent, but it needs to start making sense for me, and why would we bet on you when I have 50 other options to bet on? So there has to be something that you do, you create, which you attract me, and we will be able to look into it. Not just us, but many other people.
Yeah, Mohit, you want to... Sorry, go ahead. Jiska, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Nikhil.
Nikhil, hi. Please sit. Very good question, Nikhil, and something that I'd like to add to. Very rightly pointed out by Samir, that there is, you have to be, India is essentially a country of stories. Cinema is not necessarily an Indian art. We may be the largest creator, but it's a Western art. It came to India. But we are a country of stories. We are the कहानी प्रधान देश है हम लोग. हमारी रामायण, हमारी महाभारत, हमारी इतनी सारी जो हमारी कहानियाँ हैं, those we have a tradition, we have an oral tradition. I think that's a very good place to start with a great story, something that you want to tell. Then an iPhone can do the job for you. Get a bunch of students from your institute, get a bunch of friends, make a kick-ass film, get it out there. The audience is not interested in the tech specs of your film. They're not looking at that. They're looking at the story. They're interested in the heart of your film. Anna can comment on the aspect of what a festival like Berlinale looks at for the technical aspects. Make sure you meet the criteria, and then there are festivals, and if your story meets that criteria, you will find a market. Why are you fretting on funding and all of this? Make a film. Go ahead. Shoot it on hire, beg, borrow, even steal a camera if you need to, and make that film. Just make it happen. But find a brilliant story. Find something that people haven't seen, and then it will find its place in the sun. Don't keep thinking funding, because then you'll put a ball and chain around your feet and you won't be able to move.
And if I may second that, sometimes these restrictions with budgets also help, because then okay, I just have 3 shooting days, so I better know precisely what the frame should look like and where I want my camera. And so you have to be even more precise in your decision making, in your preparation, and in finding the right way to bring that story across with the little means you have. So very often, if you have a cross to bear, you might as well use it as a crutch. It could be what makes the film really interesting. And we had a film, and I'm not saying that so that you all send me your mobile phone films, but we had a film this year in selection with a Chinese filmmaker. He shot it on an afternoon on his iPhone. which is also part of the story. But the script writing was so brilliant, and it was amazing how in those 7 minutes he conveyed a feeling that we were all sitting in the screening room in the selection process like, oh my God, who's going to cry first? You know? So he just knew how to use this little means of the iPhone and work with that. He even made it part of the story. So, and that's nice. And I know with this little funding, self-exploitation is a problem, but maybe with short films, it's so few working days, the self-exploitation might still not be
you know, when
as
everybody
bad
talks
as
about
what like a feature film.
funding in India. So I think first of all, Nikhil, congratulations for being a lucky one to be chosen in one of the finest institutions we have in the country. See, today, when you look at funding, you know, when everybody talks about funding in India, you go back and look at somebody who's known as social media influencer today. What sort of funding they would have? Maybe negligible, but still they make huge money. I know some very good short film makers, and you know, once when I spoke to him, he said, I do commercial short films to earn money to showcase my creative film. So, you know, today product marketing and product campaigning has changed completely. Trust me, gone are those days when we used to rely only on ads. We have seen a lot of short films being commercially feasible and commercially presented. So I think this opens a big avenue for short filmmakers to start looking at it from a different angle. See, you are creative. You are a filmmaker, you are a creative genius. I have seen people in Swaya Madhopur making a sketch of a tiger, and it is much more better than a photograph which could be clicked. But they don't know how to sell it. So I think the most important component today which has to be learned by filmmakers is how to sell this. So if you have an idea, if you can pitch it properly, trust me, the Padosi next door to you can finance you. Or the Hawkins cooker can finance you. Anybody will finance you. But your product has to commercially make sense for him. If that makes sense, there's no one who can stop you from showcasing your talent. So earn money, spend it where you want. So you may have a dream film in your mind, which everybody has. I also want to make a film one day. I may not have the funds right now. But you know, tomorrow when I earn a commercial side of it, then I would be ready to invest in. But that's a big risk, huh? So you have to be very careful.
Thank you. There is one, I think one thing is coming through, is if you really want to make your film, then you do go ahead and make your film. There is at least one person here, there may be more, who I know does this. And that person is R.V. Ramani. He does not wait for funding, ideas, recognition, appreciation. He wants to make a film, he picks up his camera and he goes and makes his film. And his films are very highly recognized. So Ramani, would you want to sort of share a little bit?
No, I just want to say that, I feel fortunate that I've attended this session and listening to all of you. And I actually discovered in the session only that I have a wonderful film with me, which I'm very proud of, but never showed it anywhere.
Yeah. So showing it is the big thing. We've run out of time, quite gainfully we've used our time. I think the message from this stage is, go ahead, make your films, find your way, things will fall in place. So what was that thing? Jab kainat sab tumhare favor mein aa jati. Something like that, huh? So yeah, so if you
what you're looking for is also looking for you.
Correct, very well said, thank you very much. So that is the message, and when we are back here in MIFF next year, we are hoping that we will be showing films made by some of you who attended this session. Thank you for being a great audience. We enjoyed talking to you as much as everybody else. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks to the moderator, Mr. Pankaj Saxena, sir, for leading this discussion, and also a big thank you to all our panelists for sharing their valuable insights into how to disseminate your short films. We acknowledge the National Film Development Corporation for hosting this festival under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and extend a heartfelt thank you to our dearest audience for their engagement this afternoon. This is your anchor, Ayushi Dolakia, signing off for this afternoon.